With part 1, do you have a large family or a small family?
Wow, large of small family is hard to say. I think 2 years ago, I was living in the countryside with my big family with older brother, older sister, my father and my mother, and two younger brothers. So in total, we had 6 to 7 members, and I think it was a wonderful experience. I mean, to live in a big family where you can share knowledge and experience with the family members. Like my older brother and sister, they even share the knowledge with me because they already experienced in their life. However, now I'm moving to the city to pursue the higher education in the university. So I think I don't live with my family members, but I still have a family. I believe my family is the friends living in dormitory together. Since we belong to same age, we can kind of like together share with each other, especially the problems in finance, in love. I am always surrounded by laughter every time I come back home. That is where my heart is. I think that in the future, if I get married, maybe my family only consists me and my husband, maybe.
Yeah, so can you tell me something about your family members?
My family members are, as I told you, more than 6 or 7 members. So I just would like to describe my mother only, the person that I love most, Yeah, most of people love mother, and so do I. I think my mother is special mom, Why? Because she kind of sacrificed her career staying at home teaching me. While unlike the other mothers who may be kind of ambitious following their career, my mother decided just to give up her career as being a wonderful teacher. I was really shocked because of that, because according to what people said, she was considered to be one of the best teachers at school, but then she stopped doing it just because of me, and that's why I feel very indebted to be her, just like daughter. And in the future, I really want to become a famous person and a famous teacher like my mother, right? Always my idol in my heart.
And so now we move to the part 2, and here is your cue card. You will have a question how to describe a person in your cue card, and you will have 1 minute to note down all of your ideas in your mind, and 2 minutes to answer, to describe.
Yeah, so I have 1 minute, right?
Yeah. Time's up. So you now have the answer.
I have been taught by various teachers throughout my lifetimes. I'm studying English, mathematics, literature school. And one of the teachers that makes the greatest impression on me is the math teacher, right? Well, she taught me at the secondary school, and at that time, honestly, I hated math so much, because I always received the low scores, under 5. And I was so ashamed that I didn't want to study math continuously. I even told my mother that I want to drop out of school and join the gangster group. And my math teachers was the only person who inspired me. First of all, unlike the other teachers, who only lectures the lessons and came home and that's it. My math teacher even spent her free time, just like kind of explaining to me a very kind of like, weak student in class. I remember that after 3-hour lectures on math, she spent, just maybe 2 hours, explaining in detail every lesson, every exercise that I had little understanding about it. And I really admire her for her sacrifice, right? Besides, she really unique in the sense that she not just only fulfilling the role of teacher, but she kind of like, has been joining a lot of charity activities, and she called, just on all the students in classes to take part in the voluntary activity in order to better better the society. And her heart is really open, and I mean just great. Finally, I'm talking about her kind of like creative way of teaching. Now most of the time the theoretical way of teaching of the teachers, so they lecturing and the student doing exercises, and they go home, they correcting the homework. My math teachers stand out from the other teachers in the very, how can I say, inspirational way of teaching. Let me show you the way that she's teaching. Every time we study a formula, a new, just regulation related to mathematics, she will be explaining for short with a kind of like many illustrative examples. And after that one, she expected us, to create the exercises, following the regulations. So it's not about we doing homework, but we creating exercises, by the end of which we become more kind of active and kind of like, how can I say, creative in finding down the solution to mathematical, problems. For all the reasons above, I strongly believe she always the idol in my heart, like my mother and my math teachers, like hold a great admiration for me. I'm expecting you guys have the same teachers like me.
Yeah, thank you. And part 2 is over. So now we move to part 3, the last part. And the question in part 3 you have to answer 3 questions related to the topic in the part 2. So now the first question: how has education changed in your country in the last 10 years?
Education in Vietnam has witnessed significant changes over the 10 years, right? Positively speaking, you could see that in education now, most of classes in terms of technology have been computerized, We have computers, we have visual aid, we have projectors. Thanks to these, applications, right? The student can have better comprehension of the lessons. Let me take an example. When you study history, many years ago when I was at primary school, most of the time, I kind of like studied textbooks. I learned by heart, and I went to class, I made a presentation on it. But now with the visual and video conferences, and the clip, we could see the historical events with our very eyes. So I strongly believe, right, by the end of this one, the quality of education has been heightened, just dramatically over the years. However, there exists a problem that I'm wondering, that in the relationship between teachers and students, somehow I think it has been put in jeopardy. What I mean here, like years ago, we often respected the teachers, the person who guided us, and we always kind of like say hello every time we're meeting the teachers, right? But now it seems to me that the relationship somehow becomes so democratic, even some students, I have seen them, just like abuse a teacher physically on the street just because they received a low score. So my question is, what is the morality? What is the relationship between teachers and students? Now, only when we hold respect for teachers can we expect the teachers give us the best lessons. And I strongly criticize any student abusing teachers, physically attacking teachers like that one. Overall, I think education has changed for the better and for the worse. The most important is we have to continuously, upgrade the facility and heighten the quality and limit some unwanted cases in education to ensure the most comprehensive education for the children, the next generation of our country.
Yeah, so now we turn to the next question. What role do you think extracurricular activities play in education?
Yeah, the extracurricular activity, at this moment, one of my kind of like, nieces, she was studying at the primary school. She now studying at primary school, and I just look at her schedule, and so shocking it is. She's supposed to study more than 10 periods of extra lessons, and her mother complained that every day she studied more than 7 hours, in which 3 or 4 hours for main classes, 3 and 4 hours, for extra classes, and it's over overloading for any student, especially primary student. Therefore, I think extracurriculum activities are essential to the comprehensive education of children. Why? Now, by taking part in extracurriculum activity, students somehow can sharpen certain skills, for example, social skill, communication, right? Let me take an example. When I joined the tennis club at school and I joined some picnic outside of school, I have chance to see the nature. I have chance to make friends with people from all walks of life, and I feel that my life less stressful than ever instead of only cramming my mind with so much knowledge, and as a result, students become really stressed. They don't see learning as a rewarding experience. I think just like how. That's why the student I strongly recommend it to join extracurriculum activity to end the stress, to learn new skills, and maybe if one of the students just become interested in the activity like playing chess or doing kind of like physical exercises like sport, they nurture the dream and they become excellent sport players, and that's how to contribute to social development. So these activities are equally important as academic learning at school, I strongly believe.
How do the expectations of today's school leavers compare with those of the previous generation?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I just been leaving my universities. Let me question myself what kind of expectations I had these days, right? I look at my parents' cases, I remember that no sooner had they just graduated from their university years, then they kind of like apply for jobs, and my parents often told me that they wanted to work in the companies where their older, sister or maybe just like their grandparents used to work. What I mean is like in the past, right, in order to apply for a job, seek a job, most of youngsters often rely on relationship in order just like to have a job more easily. But the young generation like us now, I think we're expecting to find a job ourselves, and that's why we tend to move to international companies where we have better chance of promotion, higher salaries. Even though I still seeing several students, graduates, right, applying for a job on the basis of relationship, I strongly criticize that one. Why? Because if in a company, right, if people just connected with each other emotionally, not reasonably, so how could they concentrate on their work? So the expectation of young generation now, somehow they are more active, they're more responsible, they are more independent in job searching, right? Besides, talking about the salary level, I think the young generations like somehow, more practical. What I mean is like if they apply for a company like national company, if the salary only 2 or 3 million, I don't think they want to work, But the old generation, they could accept it because they just expected a stable life. In our generation, however, we care about whether we earn enough money to take care of my family, to pay for the living cost, for accommodation cost, and that's why the salary of the young generation expectation is higher. The environment of working is more professional. It should be international one because they can have chance to learn a language, to widen the network of relationship, and they find the job themselves. Yeah, that's a different thing between the school leavers of the past and today. And another thing I think interesting that I'm talking about like the idea of marriage, Yeah, the school leavers of the past, right, after graduating from university as soon as possible, right, they wanted to marry, to settle down, having kids, right away. But the youngster like us, like, we want to pursue the career for some year to earn enough living, to settle down, and after that one, they want to think about like whether they want to get married or not. Even some of them don't want to marry because they want to reach the journey of career. So that's a difference in the expectation, I suppose.
Yeah, so what are the differences in the methods of teaching and learning today compared with those in 10 years ago?
Wow, the method of teaching. I just want to summarize in some keyword that the past way of teaching was somehow like, teacher-centered. What I mean is the teachers were the centers of the class, guiding and lecturing, so my students just like wrote down, learning by heart. That was a rote learning. Now, the kind of teaching somehow more student-centered. Right? Students become the very centers of the classes. They make the presentations, they carry out the projects, they even carry out the interviews. Right? So the lectures and the lessons, like content, is depending on the quality, how good and how bad the student performance is. And that's how the student become more active in learning. That is the difference in the learning approaches of the past and the present.
Yeah. The next question, what methods of learning work best for you?
It depends on each person. Like, I take an example of my older brother, he very good at group work, every time he's solving a problem, he asking the people, calculations from the other to find a solution to it. Yeah, for instance, when he's studying mathematics, right, there is a very hard question and then he bring it out in front of the classes for all the friends to debate, to discuss, and then they finally, seek out the best solution. So the group work is really suitable with him. But to me, I think I'm kind of isolated, sometimes I'm really concerned about group work learning, but most of the time I kind of more, just interested in how can I say, independent learning. Well, for instance, like I'm surfing the net, I Google searching a lot of information, in the virtual world, and then I won't be, just like gain better comprehension by questioning myself, by researching, asking the scholars right on the internet without much debate and discussion. And another reason, another factor I believe which affects the way people learning, it depends on subject as well. If you study mathematics, it's up to you to choose whether you want to study group work or individual learning. But when it comes to English learning, like, English learning is kind of subject that need the interaction. If you learn speaking skills, right, it's undeniable that you need the group in order to talk, to interact with each other, to show the body language and gesture. And that explains why you need the group work. So it depends on the subjects, it depends on your personality. If you're extroverted, you want to study group work more. But if you're introverted, you tend to love independent learning, right? The most important thing, choose the most effective and you will achieve the highest score, especially in IELTS.
And how beneficial do you think it is to group students according to their level of ability?
Yeah, grouping the student to the level of ability has both advantages and disadvantages. On one hand, I think if the student of same ability study together, then they can find the lectures easy to understand. If the lecturer, just like make a speech on one lesson and all students of equal level, they can quickly, make sense of what meant, in that content of lecture. And somehow, because they feel equal, so somehow they feel more democratic, more open, and more willing to learn from the others, right? However, if they study, in class of different levels, that's gonna be advantage. What I mean is, like, if you see somebody so outstanding, so excellent, then you feel motivated, to keep up with her. Then it's kind of like jealousy, it's kind of competitive environment which are positive to your learning. Now, for example, I myself now, I'm studying English in a small class, and there is one student, I think she advanced level, while her spoken English and written English so native, and I kind of like feel so, inferior to her on one hand. On the other hand, I feel I had to try my best. Why there's such a person like that one being above me in terms of level, I have to work hard to catch up with her, and that's how I make progress in my learning as fast as I can. And now I'm very confident in learning English. That is because I'm studying in environment with different people of different ability.